Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where today we're going to go over what was mentioned very briefly regarding Cold War changes in the last developer stream. Let's take a look and see what Wargaming had to say.
This is specifically Cold War game mode, looking into improvements to our terrain and off-road handling. We are listening to player feedback and watching the ways that tanks perform in Cold War mode. We've been doing a lot of internal tests in the way that helps make the terrain and ground types matter more in the mode itself, and even makes the heavy tanks play more like heavy tanks in their roles, and maybe not quite up to the top speeds like light tanks and mediums and such. But that's all a lot of stuff we're still kind of exploring at this time and getting feedback, like I said. In fact, over just this past weekend, we had Supertest take a look at our current approach in testing. And these changes are a step in the right direction. We have identified many areas that need further tweaks and changes. Once we've made said changes, we'll be going right back to Supertest to see how things are after that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of bring a little bit of a realism into the game, but really more about time on target and making the fields go. We're not trying to nerf the tanks or pull them back. It's just kind of a more of a balance on the terrain systems, and thinking where they were. So if nothing else, it helps the tanks perform their roles a little bit more. The scouts can actually get there and scout before the MBTs get there, kind of moment. It doesn't mean that you can't still work together in wolf pack. As a matter of fact, I always, if you don't have a wingman, then you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. I always try to grab a wingman in the game. If not, or not
bring at least one wingman.
Yeah, exactly. If not already working with the clan. So,
So, they're planning changes to Cold War based on the terrain systems. Before we get into the details of what was mentioned there, I want to draw your attention to something that happened a year ago. We rewind the clock to the 24th of February 2024. On that date, I released a video talking about ideas that I had on how they could slow down Cold War Era 3 specifically. Fast forward a year and we have a response from them. Now, something I know that does upset many people is that feedback goes in and it feels as though they don't listen, they don't pay attention, they're not doing anything about our feedback. Well, this is an example of where things are done, but they're not done as quickly as some would like. Some people's patience is 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months. But very few people have the patience of a year. But that's exactly the timeline that we're working with here. A year ago, some feedback went from myself to them. And a year later, we have a response from them to the community. It's taken a year, almost to the day, a year. So it's very easy with that delay in feedback, a response from the feedback, for people to think that they don't listen. They do listen, but it sometimes takes longer than the community would like. All right, so let's take a look and see what was actually said. Helps make the terrain and ground types matter more. When I see that, what I think is solid terrain such as highways, roads, concrete, that's going to be no different. Softer terrain, fields, sand, mud, long grass is going to be the resistance in the terrain is going to be higher, which means the speeds are going to be slower. And then if you get bogged down in water or swamp, then you're really going to be really slow. So the swampy areas of Live Oaks, they're always known to be a bit difficult to play through. I'm guessing it's going to become very difficult to play through. Fields, your top speeds are going to reduce to maybe 50 kilometers an hour, possibly. On roads, nothing will change. So if you're playing on Mannheim and you're on the bridges or on the roads, nothing's going to be different. It's just going to be, boom, off you go, solid terrain, go have fun at your top speed. Heavy tanks play more like heavy tanks in their roles and maybe not quite up to the top speeds like a light or medium. Okay. So sounds like it's more specific towards heavy tanks being more sensitive to terrain changes. That'll be interesting. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I've got a suspicion this will change the gameplay of Cold War and bring it more in line with the tactics of World War II, where heavies are, well, they're heavier, they're slower, they're not going to be rushing around like they do at the moment. They're going to fit the heavy tank role in a far more in a traditional World of Tanks sense. We're not trying to nerf the tanks or pull them back, it's more of a balance to the terrain system. Okay, so the terrain system's going to change, which will then affect the vehicles. Very much like their what they called the autocannon update. They didn't actually update the autocannons, it was a server tick rate update, which then affected the fire rates of autocannons. So it's not going to be a tank change, it's going to be a terrain resistance change that will then change the vehicles themselves. If nothing else, it helps the tanks perform their roles a little bit better. The scouts can actually get there and scout before the MBTs get there. That, yeah, I can see where they're coming from with that. It's been very unusual. From a traditional point of view, it's been unusual for heavies to be just as fast as light tanks. That I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know what it will look like in game, but having light tanks that can scout and heavies that are reliant on light tank spotting stuff, that's could be interesting. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how this goes. Really, it's difficult. It's really difficult to say at this point until we actually see it in game and we know exactly what they're talking about. But this doesn't mean you can't work together and wolf pack. My suspicion is what this means is you can still run as a pack on the minimap, but you're going to be slower at doing it. And my suspicion is, based on how this game works, the wolf pack is only there because everybody can keep up with each other, and it's just a herd mindset, herd mentality of everyone stick together and just steamroll the entire team. No tactics, no thought, nothing. It's just a group of sheep that have guns running together, shooting anything that is not friendly. So I've got a feeling if you slow the game down, you're not going to have that momentum kept up. So in theory, yes, you can technically still wolfpack. You could technically wolfpack in World War II. People just don't do that because if you're in a light tank or a medium, you're like, dude, I'm faster than a heavy. I'm just going to go drive off and play my game. So yeah, in theory, wolfpacking can still be an option, but I would personally like to see it become less of a winning strategy. I want the maps to be played tactically. I want flanks to be covered. I don't want the entire game to just be, hey, the biggest blob of red or green happens to win. You know, I would like to see more tactics brought to the game because at the moment, yeah, Era 1 less so. Era 2 kind of, Era 3 definitely. It's just everyone tends, every now and then they tend to stick together as a pack running everything over. I would like to see that change. So this is some big news for Cold War. I don't know when they're going to introduce this change. This could be massive for the game. I'm kind of interested to see what happens. Yeah, they've piqued my curiosity is piqued now. I want to see what they've got going here. We'll have to wait and see. They didn't say when this would be coming to the game. They said it was being tested right now. But when this will be in the game, I really don't know. So guys, that is all I've got for this. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, if not a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you in the next one.